Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening. It's Tuesday, January 26th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. With the stay-at-home order lifted, San Diego County is back in the purple tier. That is good news because it means a number of businesses can reopen with restrictions and modifications. Hair and nail salons are among those that can now open indoors, while restaurants and breweries can serve diners outdoors. KPBS reporter John Carroll has a reaction from business owners.
Now we start over again.
Jeff Kasha owns Rudford's restaurant in North Park. He can now return to serving customers outdoors, but he's not as happy as you might think, and that's because of what's happened that's led up to this point.
When you own a restaurant, and they shut you down, your inventory goes down, and you have two choices: give it away or throw it away. So that's what we do 7 times.
Kasha would have been ready to go with a tent on what was part of his parking lot, but Mother Nature dealt a cruel blow on Monday. The tent is now a crumpled pile of tarp.
There's water, there's poles, thank God nobody was in there. Thank God it was at, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Kasha is fortunate in that Rudford's has been around a long time with a lot of loyal customers.
We miss seeing our guests dine on premises.
Stephen Torres co-owns Pop Pie Company in University Heights. Though he's happy that customers will soon be able to return to this street dining space, he's been luckier than most because of his business model.
Takeout was big for us from the get-go. Takeout, delivery.
Torres didn't have to lay off any of his employees. Even so, he says the last 10 months have been difficult.
It's been a challenge for all of us, physically, mentally, emotionally.
Then there are the businesses that have been closed completely since the stay-at-home order was issued in late November of last year. Here at London Nail Spa in Point Loma, the last time they were open for business, they were doing it in a tent here outside. But now, with the stay-at-home order lifted and the required safety modifications in place, they are ready to welcome back customers.
I'm so happy. I feel relief.
But for spa owner Cindy Fan, operating like this isn't anything like it was pre-pandemic. She has to space appointments out further apart, meaning less customers overall. And her hope for the future is tempered by what she's been through.
We're still in the bubble, but we try hard. We, like everybody, I think.
For these San Diego business owners and so many thousands more like them, things are now a little better, even as the COVID roller coaster ride rolls on. John Carroll, KPBS News.
The Biden administration is ramping up distribution of coronavirus vaccines to states after complaints of shortages around the country.
We will increase overall weekly vaccination distributions to states, tribes, and territories from 8.6 million doses to a minimum of 10 million doses. Starting next week, that's an increase of 1.4 million doses per week.
Here in California, health officials announced a new plan and unveiled a website that they hope will address frustrations about the slow pace of vaccine distribution. KPBS reporter Joe Hong has the details.
These are the vials. They contain 5 doses each.
So far, only about 5% of Californians have received their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. State officials today explained new initiatives that could expedite distribution and reduce confusion about who qualifies for the vaccine and when. The new efforts will be led by Secretary of the Government Operations Agency, Yolanda Richardson.
We understand that vaccine supply is limited, but we also need to address that the supply we have now needs to get administered as quickly as possible.
The first new initiative is the launch of My Turn, a website where Californians can check whether they're eligible to receive a vaccine. The tool will also eventually be used to schedule vaccinations.
Now, let's be reasonable. Because vaccine is so limited, if you use that tool right now, you're going to see that you're not eligible. But it is an opportunity for when you are to get notified as soon as that is available.
Richardson also announced plans to build a statewide vaccination network that includes community clinics, pop-up vaccination sites, and pharmacies that will help distribute the vaccine as more doses become available.
We want to make sure that nothing slows down the administration of vaccine other than the pace in which vaccine arrives in the state.
But Richardson didn't say when this network would be up and running. All of this comes a day after Governor Gavin Newsom announced that the state is prioritizing residents over 50 in the next phase of vaccine distribution. The state had originally planned on vaccinating groups like transportation workers, people experiencing homelessness, and incarcerated people in the next phase. Joe Hong, KPBS News.
The vaccination superstation at Petco Park will reopen tomorrow after shutting down for 2 days. High winds and heavy rain forced the downtown site to close, and even though the weather is better today, county officials kept it closed to repair tents that were blown over. 4,000 appointments had to be rescheduled for Thursday. Steve Yee was notified of the change, but he can't make it on Thursday. He was hoping the site would be open today.
It's fine. I understand that. But I just want to get it done and taken care of.
Appointments that had to be scheduled for today were moved to Saturday. A spokesperson for UC San Diego Health says if a person cannot make their rescheduled appointment time, they can make a new one. And we have all the latest information on vaccines at kpbs.org. We are tracking how many doses have arrived and been administered in our region. You can also find locations to get a shot and links to make an appointment online. A reminder, healthcare workers and everyone 65 and older is now eligible. The San Diego City Council has approved yet another eviction moratorium for residents and businesses suffering under the pandemic. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says it's stronger than previous measures.
Past eviction moratoriums came with an expiration date that kept getting pushed back as the pandemic dragged on. The measure approved Tuesday has no fixed end date and instead will expire 60 days after the local state of emergency is lifted. Councilmember Vivian Moreno says many businesses are still closed and people are out of work.
Communities in my district like Logan Heights and San Ysidro have been some of the hardest hit. So we need to ensure that residents have some security and know that they're not going to lose the roof over their head while we continue to battle this pandemic.
California lawmakers are expected to vote on a statewide eviction moratorium this week that would supersede the local ordinance. But city officials say the local eviction ban is still necessary as an extra layer of protection for struggling renters. Councilmember Joe LaCava says residents and landlords need clarity on what's allowed.
I do ask, as mentioned in the staff presentation, that we move quickly to provide expanded education and outreach, as well as a legal support system for those who must navigate a difficult bureaucratic system. An ordinance is not enough. People need to know what protections are in place for them.
The council also voted Tuesday to keep the homeless shelter at the convention center open at least through the end of March at a cost of more than $15 million. Keely Halsey is the city's chief of homelessness strategies.
This project, although worthwhile, is expensive. We acknowledge that spending funds on this project creates opportunity costs and that we'll no longer have those funds available to serve other worthy homelessness-related needs.
In addition to the eviction ban and the shelter extension, the city will soon distribute more than $42 million in aid to low-income renters, thanks to the COVID-19 relief bill passed by Congress in December. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Equity is the focus of executive orders President Joe Biden signed today. This as the Senate pushes ahead with the impeachment trial for former President Trump. Daryl Forges has more from Washington.
Do you solemnly swear?
Senators formally sworn in as jurors for the second impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump.
The Senate will proceed to consideration of the article impeachment against Donald John Trump, the former President of the United States.
Mr. Trump is charged with inciting an insurrection after thousands stormed the Capitol on January 6th.
It's something that we cannot tolerate. We have to hold the president accountable.
And I can't think of something less healing, more divisive than following through with an impeachment trial of a private citizen, of a former president.
The trial set to begin the week of February 8th. Meanwhile, President Biden is forging ahead with his agenda, signing another round of executive orders. Tuesday's theme, racial equality.
Our soul will be troubled as long as systemic racism is allowed to persist.
The new executive actions create a police commission aimed to improve prison conditions, expand housing opportunities, and address COVID-related racism and discrimination impacting Asian Americans.
We need to make equity and justice part of what we do every day.
Biden's cabinet is slowly coming together.
The yeas are 78.
His pick for Secretary of State Anthony Blinken confirmed by the Senate. And Janet Yellen officially sworn in as the first female Treasury Secretary.
Congratulations, Madam Secretary. Congratulations, Vice President. Thank you so much.
In Washington, Daryl Forges, KPBS News.
A federal judge in Texas has temporarily blocked President Biden's 100-day pause on deportations. The Texas Attorney General filed a lawsuit against the order, which took effect on Friday. He argued the Biden administration should have consulted the state before making the decision. The ruling puts the policy on hold for 2 weeks. The Biden Justice Department has formally rescinded the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy for illegal immigrants. It resulted in the separation of thousands of children from their families. Lawyers are still unable to reach the parents of 611 children who were taken by U.S. border officials between 2017 and 2018. California's substitute teacher shortage has been made worse by the pandemic. KPBS reporter Jacob Ayers says a North County nonprofit is rallying parents to help solve the problem.
The Parent Association of North County San Diego wants to put parents in the classroom as temporary substitute teachers. They'd act as classroom supervisors. Ginny Merrifield is the group's executive director.
And we can proctor or supervise the classroom while the teacher teaches from home. So the best of both worlds, everybody gets a choice. The kids can come to class with their peers and be engaged socially and emotionally. The teacher would continue to teach from home, and the students would have their laptops and be able to get the content from their teacher.
Parents would have to get an emergency 30-day substitute teaching permit. They need a bachelor's degree, and they'd have to pass a background check. Even with those requirements, the effort has gained momentum and now has dozens of parents working to fill the teaching gaps across North County. Allison Stratton is a web designer and also a parent at Torrey Pines High School. Her SanDieguitoSubstitutes.com helps parents and others sign up to substitute teach with a streamlined process that takes just a couple weeks.
They went from a pool of less than 10 to now they have about 60. And I have about 40 parents that have contacted me through the website I built, and they're all in process right now.
While many children have gone back to in-person learning across the country, California public schools have been held back by recent state guidance with stricter reopening and safety policies. April Mosbrook is a North County parent who has started the process to become a substitute teacher. She says there is a way to safely reopen schools and help the social, emotional, and academic well-being of students.
And we believe that with the advent of the vaccines, and now that we've learned ways to safely distance and have kids wear masks and take those safety precautions, we just want them back in school in a safe and healthy way overall.
The Parent Association noted that some students and families may want to continue distance learning, and the return to class model would allow for that option. Ultimately, getting students back in classrooms across San Diego County will depend upon the coordinated efforts of the state, county, and local districts. Jacob Ayer, KPBS News.
The storm hitting our county brought snow to unusually low elevations. Snow fell in many areas, including Alpine, overnight, making for treacherous conditions on I-8 and a closure that left people stuck for hours. Chains are still required, and the danger on the roads will come back later as the snow melts and then freezes again when temperatures drop. Those who made it up the mountain were greeted by picturesque setting, and some found a lot of shoveling to do.
I looked at some other houses that I thought might be a little less work, and this is the one my wife wanted, so that's what we got.
The latest storm has cleared out, but it looks like another one is on the way. Mark Mancuso has your forecast.
Cool, dry conditions here next couple of days, but it does look like wet weather will make a rapid return late Thursday.
and will continue through Thursday night into Friday morning. And that precipitation could get heavy late Thursday night into Friday morning. And then we'll start to dry it out on Saturday, warming trend through the weekend and into the beginning of next week. Temperatures just creeping up a little bit. So as we take a look at our weather tonight, we see dry weather. Temperatures cooling to 37 in Oceanside. San Diego's 45, down to 30 in Ramona. And we'll be dipping down to 22 in Mount Laguna. Looking at Wednesday's weather, well, we're still dry. North of Los Angeles, though, start to see some rain and heavy rain with an atmospheric river setting up shop in central California and intense snow starting to move into the Sierra. We'll be left with just a few clouds around. Low 60s Oceanside and San Diego, mid 50s Ramona, El Cajon's at 64, Borrego Springs 61, and Mount Laguna 43. So temperatures a little bit below average. And then on Thursday, the rain area just continues to move slowly down the coast. Should arrive here late in the day and at night. Here you can see our trends for precipitation. You can see most significant rain and mountain snow comes in late Thursday night into Friday. So as we take a look at our extended forecast for you, we'll be looking at a cool day on Wednesday, and then the heavy rain comes in late Thursday night into Friday morning. Temperatures creep up over the weekend. Inland section, same scenario, cool. Then the rain comes in Thursday night into Friday. Over the weekend, drier, and temperatures slowly rising. In the mountains, getting very windy with the rain and the higher snows. Mainly up above 5,000 feet, but snow levels will start to lower some with time. And as we take into the deserts, Friday, the wetter day, and then temperatures a little milder over the weekend. And for KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Mark Mancuso.
San Diego County supervisors today lifted a nearly quarter-century ban on needle exchanges. The services will be part of a substance use harm reduction plan that will include other strategies like handing out emergency overdose medication and HIV and hepatitis C testing. Research presented to the board showed syringe services can significantly cut rates of HIV and Hep C and greatly increase someone's chances of using less or getting into treatment.
We are the ones that remind them that they matter, that we are the ones that they trust to get them into treatment. We build relationships during a very vulnerable 2-minute interaction where individuals are talking about their drug use. They're talking about the things they do around their drug use. They're talking about their sexual partners. They're talking about all of the things. They don't have to lie. They're not feeling stigmatized.
San Diego County staff will present a harm reduction plan that includes the services within 90 days. President Biden is expected to reopen enrollment for the Affordable Care Act on Thursday as part of a series of executive actions on health care. It comes at a time when more Americans could be facing a loss of health coverage because of pandemic-related economic turmoil. The Trump administration cut open enrollment on the federal exchanges in half to 6 weeks. It ended on December 15th, but Biden has the power to open it back up. COVID-19 cases are now plateauing across most of the U.S., but with new variants of the virus out there, vaccine makers are scrambling to make sure those who get the shots remain protected. Mandy Gaither has more.
As states are giving out more vaccinations, rates of new COVID-19 cases are trending down across the country, but variants of the virus are causing concern.
The sobering news is that we cannot bring our guard up and lose the intensity of being able to use the public health measures to prevent the further spread. If the variant that has greater degree of transmissibility becomes dominant, we're going to be faced with another challenge of a virus that has a more efficient capability of spreading.
Moderna now says its COVID-19 vaccine created antibodies that neutralize the coronavirus variants first found in the United Kingdom and now circulating in the U.S., and another variant first identified in South Africa but not yet detected in the U.S. However, there are concerns that the vaccine may have a somewhat decreased efficacy against that strain spotted in South Africa. Because of that, Moderna is working on a booster aimed at fighting it. As for the drop in current COVID-19 cases, experts say it doesn't appear to be related to the vaccine.
I don't think the dynamics of what we're seeing now with the plateauing is significantly influenced yet. It will be soon, but yet by the vaccine. I just think it's the natural course of plateauing.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Johnson & Johnson could share its phase 3 vaccine data as early as this week. One of the vaccine's developers says it's being tested in South Africa, the U.S., and Brazil, and results might provide insight into how well it works against emerging variants. A group of high school students will ask the San Diego Unified School Board to speak out against oil drilling in California. KPBS environment reporter Eric Anderson has details.
The student activists are not happy that California Governor Gavin Newsom continues to issue new permits to drill for oil in the state. They say Newsom issued more permits last year than the previous year, and they say that's bad for the environment.
Within our resolution, we are asking the governor to immediately stop issuing new oil and fracking permits and to also just create a solid plan for phasing out oil drilling in California.
The students have been lobbying school board members in California's second largest district to take a stand because their future depends on rolling back the use of fossil fuels now. They hope convincing the board will help convince the governor to change course.
We feel that adults haven't really done their job ensuring that we're going to have a safe and a healthy future. So we're going to take this into our own hands. We did the research, we met with the board members individually, and we put the resolution together.
The San Diego Unified Board will take up the issue at tonight's hearing. The students will lobby other San Diego school districts to pass similar resolutions. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
After a nearly 2-month closure, the San Diego Zoo and Safari Park plan to reopen on Saturday. The zoo says it will make a few modifications as they resume operations in stages. Retail outlets will only have 25% capacity, reduced number of guests, one-way path modifications, and robust cleaning routines by the staff. Reservations will be required and face coverings will be mandatory regardless of vaccination status. SeaWorld San Diego says it will also plan to open soon, but no specific date has been set. During the pandemic, food insecurity has grown across the world and here in San Diego. As part of our Pandemic Profile series, KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler tells us about one Lemon Grove man who was spurred to action.
46-year-old Darnell Williams saw the lines for food distribution growing during the early days of the pandemic.
I was sitting at home during the lockdown, watching the news, and I saw a line of cars at the stadium. And I was wondering what they were there for, and they said the people were there for a box of food.
So, Williams decided to do something about it. Along with some friends, he began collecting food.
And we set up tables in front of my house, and we made handmade signs that said, "Take what you need." And that day, more people came by to take pictures of it than to take food.
But once word began to spread, those in need began to show up. By spring, Williams had moved Take What You Need Tuesdays to the corner of University Avenue and Fairmont Avenue, where it runs from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. There, people can pick up groceries they need for the week, no questions asked. Williams goes to local grocery stores to spend donated money on the groceries people need.
Yeah, but it really took me getting out in the community and building a rapport and a relationship with managers at grocery stores to give me a good deal on items and to sell to me. Some of the grocery stores thought that I was a hoarder.
Williams, who worked in insurance before being laid off himself during the pandemic, recalled his own upbringing, dealing with days where his single mother didn't have enough food for the two of them.
As a child, my mom and I found ourselves living on the streets of Los Angeles when I was very young. And there was a time where we needed a program like this. And that program was a no questions asked program that was at a church.
He says they average around 190 households at the distribution site each week. Last week, Williams was honored with the MVP award from the Boulevard Improvement Association.
People that do what I do don't do it for awards. And I told them last night that MVP to me stands for more vegetables, please, because I would rather have a case of canned corn to give out to people than the award. And the award is nice, but
Williams has begun a nonprofit to keep the work of Take What You Need Tuesdays going for as long as possible.
That's why when I look at a young kid coming in with his mom, it reminds me where we were at. And I said, maybe one day this kid will remember this program and help somebody out.
He says people can help support food distribution through Venmo at Take What You Need SD. Max Glenadler, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, the Biden administration continues its flurry of executive actions. I talked with Susan Rice, a key advisor driving equity, coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
And here's another look at today's top stories. Businesses are breathing a sigh of relief and starting to reopen after the governor lifted the statewide stay-at-home order. Hair and nail salons are among those that can open indoors with modifications. Restaurants as well as wineries and breweries that serve food can operate outdoors. And the San Diego City Council extended an eviction moratorium for renters and small businesses. Qualifying tenants cannot be evicted for unpaid rent due to financial hardship related to the pandemic, starting on Monday and ending 60 days after the city's emergency declaration ends. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud to support the mission of KPBS and privileged to serve San Diego clients. Anderson Plumbing, Heating and Air, helping homeowners maintain drain, heating, and cooling systems since 1978. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley. And by the following: and by viewers like you. Thank you.